The Chernobyl disaster is the most serious accident in nuclear history that changed the lives of many. Massive amounts of radioactive materials were released into the environment, resulting in a radioactive cloud that spread over much of Europe. In north of Ukraine, a city named Chernobyl was mostly uninhabited subsequent the catastrophe at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. The disaster led to the death of 2 workers. In addition, 28 people suffered from acute radiation poisoning and eventually died. According to the Nuclear Energy Institution, the disaster was a combination of human and machine engineering error. The Chernobyl nuclear power plant comprises of 4 reactors that are exclusively designed by Russia. The reactors are not shielded by control structure that is required to be installed by the US power plants. The Chernobyl reactors were only shielded by a thick, solid armor. The design of the reactor is considered fundamentally unstable and faulty to operate, according to the American Nobel laureate Hans Bethe. In 1986, the disastrous electrical engineering test was conducted by a group of engineers who possess no fundamental understanding of reactor physics. These engineers were concerned to experiment if it was possible to generate electricity from the turbine producer of reactor unit number 4. Regrettably, the test was to be conducted without a comprehensive exchange of data and coordination among the group that were responsible of the experiment and the employees responsible for the safety of the nuclear reactor. Thus, insufficient safety measures are incorporated. Also, the staff who are conducting the test are not aware of the nuclear safety consequences of the electrical experiment and its probable hazards. Finally, the operators have shut down the reactor's emergency core cooling system as to continue with the experiment even if an emergency has occurred. All these actions by operators have reflected a lax attitude in regards of applying the safety precautions in the power plant, and it is considered as the key contributing factor for the Chernobyl crisis. While the experiment being conducted, the power has dropped again and left the operators with 2 options: waiting for 1 day in order for the reactor to stabilize or induce more power in the reactor. The safe option was to wait, but since they were not aware of the safety procedures, they have decided to continue the test by increasing the voltage of the reactor. The operators have agreed to continue the test and permitted this hazardous situation to proceed even though they have intentionally disabled the safety system so that they can advance with the test. Unexpectedly, the power has increased rapidly and was out of control. The operator has pushed the emergency power reduction system button, but the system had a design flaw. Instead of reducing the reaction, the system has amplified the power, which led to the explosion of the reactor and exposing hazardous substance to the atmosphere. Since the Chernobyl nuclear plant was not installed with the control structure as in most of the nuclear plants in different parts of the world, it led to have enormous amount of radiation being released into the environment. The Chernobyl accident was considered a stronger contributing factor in the collapse of the Soviet Union, according to former President Gorbachev. The disaster released at least 100 times more radiation than the atom bombs dropped on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Much of the fallout was deposited close to Chernobyl, in parts of Ukraine and Russia. More than 350,000 people resettled away from these areas, but about 5.5 million remain. Contamination with cesium and strontium is of particular concern, as it will be present in the soil for many years. After the accident, traces of radioactive deposits were found in nearly every country in the northern hemisphere, but wind direction and uneven rainfall left some areas more contaminated than their immediate neighbors.
Created using Powtoon.